AM 630.
WMAL. 7:37 on WMAL. Hey, you know what? 8 o'clock hour, Joe Theismann is going to be with us. Can't wait to do that. Right now, we have Stuart Varney on the line from the Fox Business Network. Stuart, we got lots of stuff to talk about. The stock market has taken a decided turn for the worse, so I'm sure you're bad news, Stu, today. But what about the economic outlooks that we're going to be seeing as the week progresses? Are they going to help the market? Are they going to hurt the market? What do you think?
I think they may well hurt the market and hurt President Obama's re-election chances. Just a couple of minutes ago, we got the latest report on the number of layoffs. 61,800 reported for the month of May, up 53% from April. Now, this is not a terrifically important indicator, but it's one of several that are coming out over the next 2 days. And all of them point towards, or I think they will point towards, a rapidly slowing economy and a worsening employment picture. That's bad news for a president in a re-election year.
What's driving it?
What's driving it? That's a good question. It is, look, I'll come right out with it. I think it is the failure of President Obama's economic stimulus policies. He has stimulated government spending, not private enterprise investment. And now we're reaping the whirlwind. Obviously, things are not made any better by slowdowns in China, India, and Europe being in recession. Obviously, that is a factor, and that is beyond the president's control. But looked at purely in terms of domestic economic policy, his policies have not been a success. We do not have a robust economic recovery in place.
You know, I guess about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, we were talking about how there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines, especially from, companies, major corporations, maybe $1 trillion. I've heard as much as maybe $2 trillion sitting on the sidelines. Is that still the case? And are businesses just waiting to see what happens with this election? Why are they holding on to that money?
Yes, it is still the case. I don't know the exact number, but it is approaching $2 trillion that American corporations hold. Much of that money held overseas. Why? Because if they bring it back to America, they're subject to a 35% tax rate. They're not willing to do that. If they want to invest in America, they've got doubts about the future. They're not going to invest until they see demand for their products really picking up and the investment climate really improving. So they're sticking it into, of all things, America's debt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's an astonishing story broken in financial circles over the last couple of days, and that is the trillions of dollars that are pouring into America's debt, forcing interest rates down to all-time historic record lows. Now, that rebounds on us a little bit in the sense that mortgage rates are about to come down even more.
So is that a bet, though, on America long-term? Is that a bet on the dollar long-term by doing that?
No. It is a rush to safety. When everything is in chaos, and Europe is definitely in chaos, when that happens, the hot money runs to a safe haven. The safe haven of the day is German bonds, because you know you're going to get repaid. Mm-hmm. American bonds, you know you're going to get repaid. Hey, we can print dollars. You'll get repaid all right. So you run to those safe havens. Interestingly, they've not run to gold, which is a traditional safe haven. No, this time around, it's American treasuries, German bonds.
All right, a little closer to home. What is the mayor of New York doing? He's now banning drinks over 16 ounces in restaurants and movie theaters.
Sodas.
Sodas. You go to Yankee Stadium, you can't get a 20-ounce soda anymore?
Don't we have an obesity problem, Brian? Don't you want to tackle fat America? Don't you?
You know what? I actually do, but I don't think the government necessarily should be involved in it. And I ask you this, Stuart, do you think a year from now or 5 years from now, because of this ban on 17-ounce sodas, is going to have one impact on the obesity rate in New York City?
Absolutely not. Not one iota of difference will be made by this. Interestingly, though, it's a ban. Now, as opposed to raising the tax on sugary drinks, which is the traditional way you try to discourage people, this time it's a flat-out ban. I'm intrigued about that. Now, I don't know why the mayor went for a ban as opposed to a higher tax. Heaven knows we need the revenue from a higher tax. So he's gone with a ban. I'm not sure whether he'll get it. It is wildly unpopular in New York. It broke this morning, and I've not met anybody who's in favor of this thing yet.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't seem very fair either, because it's a ban at restaurants, but not at convenience stores or grocery stores.
yeah, I mean,
It's just not going to do anything for the obesity rate. It's just silly.
All right,
maybe it's good politics.
let's talk
maybe
about-
the mayor stands out as the man leading the nanny state charge, and he thinks that's good. I don't know.
Let's talk about Wisconsin, where Scott Walker, the governor, is in a battle and has been in a battle against the unions. It looks as if the polls are correct, I find two interesting numbers there. Number one, the poll says that Scott Walker is likely to prevail by as much as 7 points if the polls are correct. But also, interestingly, in Wisconsin, President Obama is up by 8 points.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that, but from a business standpoint, does this battle mean anything?
Yes, as I think it has huge impact. I'll give you another number. Since the state of Wisconsin stopped collecting union dues on behalf of the union and forced the union to collect their own dues from their own members, membership in the second largest municipal union in the state has been cut in more than half.
Really?
Yes. The American Society of Federal, State, and Municipal Workers, that union, had 62,000 members a year ago. Today, it's got 28,000. In other words, when you present union members with the choice, you want to pay dues to this union or not, they say, half of them say, no, we're not interested. Now, that's a huge blow to the future power of unions. And if Governor Walker wins in Wisconsin, and that idea of we're not collecting union dues for you any longer, that goes national, unions are in real trouble. I see this as a pivotal point in the financing of states all across the nation.
Well, I think the bottom line is that the people of Wisconsin will look at it and say, hey, Scott Walker's in here. He made some choices. And our life is pretty much the same. Services, haven't changed all that much. But right now, we may be sitting on a surplus. So maybe Scott Walker isn't as evil as everybody thought, and maybe his ways are actually working.
I think that's the way Wisconsin people look at it. He is up by 7 points. The Democrats, the left, is divided on this. And I've interviewed several union people recently, and reading between the lines of what they're saying and listening to the tone of voice, they believe that Scott Walker's going to win. They see the writing on the wall. They're in retreat at this point.
All right, Stuart Varney, always good to have you here on Brian and Brian. It's my favorite segment of the week, Stuart.
You're a nice guy, Brian.
Well, no, I mean it. I always learn. Every time you're on, I walk away saying, man, I learned something there.
But load up on those big gulps or those 17-ounce sodas before the end of the day, though.
All right,
See what I
Stuart.
can do
See you,
for
Stuart.
See you.